Well, good everyone. What I would get ready to say, good everyone. Actually, I meant to say good evening, everyone. I'm Robert Gums. Happy New Year. We've seen another New Year come and gone. And I thought it would be a very good thing to start off this new year. Talk about a gentleman named Joseph Schultz. Joseph was a soldier in the German army in World War II. He was one of the Nazi soldiers that marched through Europe, supposedly to do Hitler's bidding. What happened? They were marching through some small European village, and apparently there must have been many Jews there. And well, they had what the Nazis called a type of cleanup crew. If in their filthy mind, they spoke about cleaning up, and the cleanup that they were referring to were primarily Jews, but also gypsies, um, Catholic clergy that wouldn't bend to the will of the Nazi Party. Folks like that. In other words, just plain people, just plain folk. And it was something like what you would see out of a World War II movie. They had something like about 12, 15 villages lined up. And the commander of this unit called for, I think, about 8 or 9 guys to be a firing squad. And he has them all lined up, right? And then what happens, he gives the orders, ready, take aim, kabang, fire, right? Well, this guy, Joseph, he stands there. Private Schultz just stands there. He doesn't raise up his weapon or anything. And it's funny because, in an ironic way, because you don't hear this too often, hear about soldiers like this too often, especially in the German army. And the captain, yells at them, "Hey, didn't you hear me?" And yes, I heard you, sir. Okay, make ready. And Joe said nothing. The kid says nothing, just stands there. So the captain raves at him, "Well, listen, if you are not going to obey orders, take your butt up there. You stand next to the people who are going to be shot." So Private Schultz says, "Okay, very well." Walks up to the line with the rest of the folks. One of the people, one of the civilians that was getting, prepared to be shot, reaches out and takes his hand and holds hands with him. Now, a few moments ago, this was one of the people that Schultz was supposed to help execute. But now, I guess because Schultz he had let his humanity come through, he found himself standing up against the wall, holding the hand of one of the people that he was supposed to shoot. And then, hey, ready, take aim, boom. And Joseph Schultz was executed along with the civilian prisoners. I say this because I think, especially at the beginning of this year, we buried Jimmy Carter today, which was another example of what it means to be human, truly human. And thinking about Joe Schultz here, and thinking about what we have to look forward to, I think it's apropos that we think about this word called courage, which unfortunately in our politics today, and I'm talking about politics on both sides, we don't see too often. And I just wonder, when your time comes to stand up for what's right, will you do that? Will you stand up? I'm curious because a lot of people today who get into public life, they go into public life and I don't know what the hell they're going in it for, because they don't seem like they're, trying to do anything to help someone. The only thing I see most people nowadays going into politics for is they got people that they want to hurt. Like they don't like women, okay? Or put it this way, they don't like the idea of women having rights to their own body. Or they think that too many people that's not of their color are coming into the country. Or they think that they can make a quick buck for themselves. Now, hear me. I'm not saying each and every person in political life today feels that way. Unfortunately, the vast majority, either they are like that or they, at least by their behavior, give that appearance. We're going to need people with guts, right? We're losing in this Congress a man with guts, a fellow named Bowman. Also, and I always mispronounce her name, so I'm not even going to try. She was a nationalized American, which means she's an American just like you or I who happen to be born here. And certain forces managed to run her out of her seat. The other person I'm referring to, I believe his name is Bowman, up in Yonkers. What did they spend? I understand that they spent something like $15 million over a congressional seat. And it seems that his major sin was that he stood up and he called the Israeli government on the carpet for what they are doing to the people of Gaza. Now you've had a few people I understand who have left the State Department because they are so morally repulsed by what is happening in Gaza with our help. The Israeli government gets their support from the United States, from your tax dollars. So just think about that. Your tax dollars are helping to blow little children into pieces. And it's so difficult to find politicians that have the guts to stand up and say no. You know, America, we have this delusion that somehow, we're the best, we're the freest, and gosh darn apple pie, even our food is better. Well, let me tell you something, okay? As someone who has seen a good part of this world, a good part of this planet, Americans, most of those folks who feel that way are sadly uninformed. I have found out that, what is it? Over 70% of the American people have never been outside of America. And I think that says a lot right there. We're insular, we're arrogant, and we have no reason to be. As far as our food being better, well, I don't know, because so many of us are dropping dead from heart attacks and, our veins are, blowing up and what have you. So that says a lot about the way that we eat in this country. But I think it's time that in this country that we do two things. Number one, we start to exhibit courage. And number two, that we grow up and, stop clowning around with these delusional ideas, okay? Are there countries that are, how should we say it, not as maybe good as we think we are? Well, yeah. I wouldn't want to live in North Korea, for example. I wouldn't want to live in China right now. But then again, maybe you got Chinese that wouldn't want to live here. I think that whole thing about everybody coming to America, that is really changing. In my lifetime now, I have seen it change. Really, it's changed since the first time Trump went into the White House, and it's gotten worse. Seriously, I don't think that you have to be an American to have respect as a human being. That's another problem that we have. That's part of the problem with Gaza. We don't see the Palestinians on the whole. We don't see Palestinians, Arabs. We don't see, in the American way of thinking, we don't see them as total human beings. Perhaps if you were trying to rate an Asian person next to a black person, next to an Indian person, next to an Arab person, you know, the black guy would probably come out in the American way of thinking. The black guy would probably come out on the bottom. Okay, but frankly, in the American way of thinking, none of them really amount to a European. Okay, uh, you have a problem with what I'm saying. Don't argue with me. Argue with history. Okay, but that's the problem that, like I said, that's the problem that we have with the in the Palestinian situation over there in Gaza. You don't slaughter women and children and then think the world is going to see you as a great guy. This is not World War II. And I think that all of us of goodwill would like to think that humankind has advanced and has evolved somewhat since 1945. And to see what's going on in Gaza, to see some people even try to cover it up, I think it's disgusting. I'm a former Roman Catholic, but I have a great amount of respect for this Pope, Pope Francis. I think that irregardless of what I agree or disagree with Pope Francis about, I believe that he is a man trying to find his spiritual path to God. And I believe that he is, he is trying. The reason I say that is because the man talks about humanity as a whole. And I like the way that he does not, he doesn't pull. I mean, maybe that's why some people don't like him, because he doesn't, how should I say, he does not put Western civilization on the pedestal, I think that that's another one of the problems. For the last 400, 500 years, certain parts of the world have tried to elevate themselves somehow that they are more superior to other members of mankind. And, that's not the way. For example, I'm just sitting here, right? I'm just putting some things out there. Where's the oldest Christian Bible located at? Well, in case you don't know, the oldest Christian Bible is in the monastery, in the church in Ethiopia. Where is Ethiopia at? Well, Ethiopia happens to be in Africa. It's right around, what's that? Kenya, Somalia nearby, Egypt. Oh, and by the way, Egypt is in Africa. All right. So this whole business about, where the Egyptians black and blah, this not, it's really nonsense. And the Pope has, he has spoken to that. And he has said that the world that what we call the Holy Land, it was and always has been, it's been inhabited by dark people. Some of whom were dark, so it's dark enough to be called black. I put it to you like this. The people in the original people in the Holy Land were so dark that they would be discriminated against if they, if they came to the United States, okay, in the beginning of the 21st century, right? And then you have anthropologists basically backing him up and what he said. And ooh, here goes a hot one. Because certain folks don't like to talk about it, right? And you know what that is, right? You know what I got up my sleeve here, right? What did Jesus look like? Now that's going to get some black folks mad at me. But the Pope and anthropologists, what do they say? Well, they say that the people of the Holy Land were definitely dark. They were not blonde-haired, blue-eyed folks, all right? As a matter of fact, they looked like the same big picture of Jesus that my parents hung over my bed when I was a child. As a matter of fact, that picture hung there until, I'm trying to remember, was it still hanging there when I first came back from the Army? Yeah, it was. Yeah. And I was fortunate because I left I left public school, and when I hit the fourth grade, I started going to Catholic school in Harlem. Yes, and we had lay teachers, like civilians. In other words, they weren't monks or priests or nuns, but they were devoted to the church. And a guy named Mr. Franklin, I'll never forget him. He was originally from Grenada, down the Caribbean. That little tiny island that Reagan invaded. Which was a freaking joke, but anyway. He was from Grenada. And he taught religion, and he also taught history. And he taught, I wouldn't call it black history, but he taught about the contributions of African people to Western history. And hell, I was learning that from him. And this is like the fourth grade. So none of the, what I'm telling you, it's like not a big deal to me. Unfortunately, in this country, that is, it is a big deal. And that's a shame because that just shows our ignorance, quite frankly, and our lack of historical knowledge. But yeah, Jesus Christ would, hey, somebody else who said that? Ever hear Billy Graham? He made that comment. Oh my goodness, back in 59, I think, or 60. I was a little kid crawling on the floor in front of the TV. And I never forget it because my old man got real excited when he heard Billy Graham, say that. But he said that if Jesus would, how did he say it? To show you how we are, if Jesus came back today, he would be forced to sit in the back of a bus. Now think about that. Just think about that. And see, this is one of the things that has crippled the Western world. Not just America, not just America, but the West as a whole. This whole racial supremacy business. Now, I had mentioned Gaza. Well, at first, I started off telling the story about a Nazi soldier, German army soldier. Well, at that time, the whole German army was about being a Nazi, right? And this guy decided to be executed rather than to shoot innocent people just because they happen to be Jewish or gypsies, etc., right? Then we start talking about the good book in the Holy Land. And also talking about Gaza. And I'm telling you that that's something that we need to be aware of. That the fact that the people of the Holy Land, I hear you, were dark people. And the fact that Jesus himself was a very, very dark man. Now, Gaza, right? Problem in Gaza, as I was saying earlier, was the fact that we don't see the people of Gaza as fully human. We are just now, lately, and I think that you probably get even a better view if you look, if you watch YouTube, look at YouTube a lot, talking about the casualties, right? Some little kid, his legs blown off, his whole family's been wiped out. I see that sort of thing in YouTube. It's real hard to catch that on the so-called mainstream media, mainstream news. They need to show it more on the mainstream news. But I guess pressure is applied so that the American people don't really see that much of it. Now, of course, let's be real about this. This is 2021. I'm sorry, 2024. We know what's going on there. A lot of us who served in the military, we have a pretty good idea. Those weapons that are being dropped in Gaza, we have a pretty damn good idea of what those weapons can do. And we have a pretty good idea what happens when those missiles or bombs are fired or dropped, and the effect that they'll have on a child's skin, on human flesh, especially young human flesh. So we basically know the deal, right? We know what's going down over there. We don't have it face to face every day like we should, unfortunately. In Western Europe, they have they see a lot more of the brutality. People are seeing a lot more of the brutality on the media in Western Europe than they are here. Okay. It really, it never ceases to amaze me how the thinking process, if you want to call it that takes place in this country. People that can, our weapons are so smart so sophisticated. You know, you drop them out of a F-18, right, or F-35. Those damn things are smart enough. Where's Joe Williams live at? 3920 Apple Tree Lane. And the missile, oh, okay, gotcha. That missile's smart enough to find Joe at Apple Tree Lane, go up the stairs. Is Joe there? Yeah, hold up. Joe walks over to open the door and blam! Right? That's how smart and sophisticated our weaponry is. And this is what we give to the Israelis. You talk about where's all the money we have here in America? Well, a lot of it goes over there to Israel. And what bothers me, I don't believe that we should ever give anti-Semites room to make their ignorant comments. Okay? I lost my opportunity for a commission in the Navy because in so many words, I told them to take this great evaluation. And anytime anybody wants to start anything, all they got to do is check out my naval records, right? And highest marks, like 4.0. But I raised so much hell and dealt with so much crap because of anti-Semitism. I was just tired of being on active duty. And I will tell you right here and now, that was a mistake. Sometimes when you're younger, you don't think too far ahead, especially when you're angry. And that was a mistake I made. I changed the whole course of my life, my family's life, because I wouldn't, I'm not going to put up with this crap. And a lot of the crap was made to disappear because of me. But, I was concerned about my wife's health. We were having our child, and she was having problems with her, her thyroid gland, her blood pressure, and for a while they were concerned about her heart. And there was a small knothole that I could go through to be able to, come home. And I said, well, the hell with this. I'm getting out of this command, and I'm going to go into reserves, which is what I did. But I should have stayed. I wish I had stayed, looking back upon it. But sometimes you just get so sick and tired. And I think that's one of the things that is really annoying me now about America. This thing about race. We can't help the people in Gaza. We can't stand up to the Israeli government. Why? Because, the Gazas, the Palestinians, they're just, little dirty brown people. And these people fighting, the Israelis, they're kind of like us, I mean, you see them in uniform going into people's houses and whatnot and trying to find booby traps. They look just like, us. I think for the most part. And the people in Palestine, we don't seem to have that kind of rapport that we would worry about when a Palestinian child is blown to bits. And what angers me really is that nobody is willing to just sit down one day and say, well, wait a minute. You know, we got thousands upon thousands of people dead, right? Most the percentage of them, women and kids. How did this happen? What started this damn thing? And no one, you know, in the mainstream media does not seem to be willing to talk about that. And that's not right. And I agree with the Pope. I agree with Pope Francis. It's not right. It's not right to do people this way. It's not right. And I agree with the United Nations on this score. It's not right. What was the purpose of all those people that were murdered, killed in World War II? We were supposed to be building a better world. That was the purpose of the United Nations. But to me, it seems that we try to, you know, we have tried America, and I'm not, you know, I'm not giving Russia a free pass either. But when it comes to dealing with the darker portions of the world, it would seem that the United States has gotten a free pass. You know, anything we say goes, you know, and that's not right. And I'll tell you something else, as Americans, that we really need to take a look at. You know, the whole thing about concentration camps and everything, you know where they got the idea from. Now, somebody told me one time that it was the Brits, the British, during the Boer War, you know, 1898 to 1902, 1903, right? And yeah, the British did use the whole thing of concentration camps. But you know where the Brits got it from? They got it from us, America. And what we did to the indigenous people here on this continent. Again, don't argue with me, argue with history. All right? When Hitler wanted to suppress, and which he did, suppress the Jewish people in Germany, and then wherever he went in Europe, his whole thing, suppress and exterminate. Where did he get that from? Where did Hitler get his ideas from? He got it from the United States. As a matter of fact, when he first came to power, when was that, 32, 33? When he first came to power, and Americans, you know, writers, newspaper people who wrote about his Nuremberg policies toward Jewish people, at first, Hitler was kind of shocked. Because you said, why are you yelling at me for how I treat the Jews? Look what you did to your Native Americans, the indigenous people. He said, you insist upon calling them the wrong name, and you put them on reservations. And he said, what is a reservation but a concentration camp? Look what you do to the blacks. You make them ride on the back of the bus. There are many things they are not allowed to do. We don't see Jewish people as citizens. We see Jews as a foreign race of people in Germany. Your blacks have been there as long as you have. They've been there with the Mexicans and with the Spaniards. But look how you treat them. So don't, that's what he used to say about trying to talk about what we would call today human rights. See? And he told the United States straight up, hey, don't lecture me. I got a lot of this from you. Sterilizing people, okay, all that good stuff. I got it from you, America. Sad but true. And see, that's the problem that we have today. We have not gone beyond our original programming in this country, and it is killing us. Seriously, it's as a nation. And it hasn't stopped. Now there's a lot of stuff happening that, of course, most of us are not privy to. But you have the Trump people coming in. And trust me, they have no idea what the hell they want to do. They want to throw out all of the Hispanics and the few Africans, throw them out, and what happens next? Well, Donald, they said that it could kill the economy. And then, after Donald made all this preaching about America for Americans. If you're not born here, you shouldn't be here. Well, his new daddy is that guy that runs Tesla, Mr. Techie Man. And what Tech says is, we should go ahead and we should let Indians come here. I mean, Indians, people from India, not, don't get it twisted. But people from India, give them that, what do you call it, that H-1B thingamajig? Where you can come into this country because your skill is needed. And I understand that a lot of MAGA people are very, very upset with Donald because they're telling him, hey, man, you promised us that you would stop all immigration, right? So now the question is, what's going to happen with that? What is going to happen with that? Because you remember those rallies and everything, right? I always called them clan meetings, but you know what I'm talking about. We got to get rid of the un-Americanness and all those other kind of crazy crap, right? Well, Leon Musk is saying, wait a minute, hold it up, Pilgrim, hold up. I gotta have my Indians come in, right? Now, let me let you in on something. The serious type MAGAs, they don't like Indians. They don't like people from India. I suspect it's because they're smarter than the MAGA folks are, right? But see, Elon, what him and his tech buddies want, they want to be able to bring the Indians over here, right? And excuse me a second. I'm sorry, I'm on the air right.
Danger of losing your approved funds. This is Bella.
I tell you, these people, they will do anything to try and get money out of you. Always a scam. But anyway, as I was saying, they want, Elon and his buddies want Trump to allow Indian tech people to come into this country with the H-1B or something like that, visa or whatever, and they want to bring them in here, see, because I believe that they can do. They want to do it because they think they're going to work cheaper than some kid that somehow was able to finish high school, go to college, maybe graduate from, especially like an Ivy League school. And that kid's going to want money. And I don't blame him. But see, the problem is that you have tech geniuses, I mean, they're like all over the place in India. So Elon and his friends say, well, hey, we can get these Indian tech people here for all our tech businesses and everything, and we won't have to pay them what we pay Americans. So what should that tell MAGA people? That they were living in a dream world from the jump, okay? Their whole ideas about America and government and the world as a whole, it was a fantasy. It was a white nationalist fantasy. That's all it was. Number one, I don't give a damn what you say. You're not going to be able to take the United States out of the world. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And I'm also, that's the tech gone right there. Now, I'm curious what he's going to do about the so-called 12 million illegals. I hate that word, illegals. People are not illegal, okay? They are migrants. What is MAGA going to do about the migrants, right? Because just like Elon says, I want these Indians here for my tech businesses. What about the farmers? What about all those farmers who are going to go bankrupt because they can't find people to work? They're not going to be able to find a whole bunch of Americans to do the work that the immigrants have been doing. Now, India, you have to realize something. That's like it's like a separate thing, all right? Let me try if I can put it maybe better than that. But, you know, India is an English-speaking country. I mean, they have their dialects and what have you. But you have to remember, England had been in India since about what? When did Clive have all those victories? 1770 something, 1780? India has been in India. And they finally was booted out in 1948. So you already have an English-speaking, technical, literate people to do the jobs that need to be done. Now, here goes my question. And this is going to sound really funky. But Elon says that we need those people because of the fact that they have the technical skills and know-how. Well, somebody told me, because, one thing I know about the Democratic Party since FDR is that they always coming up with some kind of job program, right? Number one, how come we here in America have not trained our people to do this technical work? That's the first thing. Why? Why haven't we done that? That's number one. Number two, why aren't the American people, why haven't they voted for the Democrats who run on this type of thing? Well, yeah, government needs to be there to help people, to educate people. See, this is what happens when you have allowed these damn Republicans for the last 20, 25 years, 30 years, you have allowed these damn Republicans to put all this crap in your head worrying about what about the social issues. There's no such thing as social issues. Like the governor of, Kamala Harris's running mate said, social issues are basically issues that people need to mind their own damn business. But working class Americans, you have allowed your prejudice, right, and your narrow-mindedness to basically vote, and having you vote against your own best interests time after time again. Why? There shouldn't be an issue about these HB1 or H1B or whatever the hell it is for technically skilled people. We're America. Why don't we have our own technically skilled people? See, these are the kind of questions that are not being, the Democratic Party, I tell you quite frankly, and I consider, I'm a Democrat. It's not what I consider myself. I'm a registered Democrat, okay? But this is one of the reasons why we got our butt kicked. Because we don't get into people's faces. We don't throw the crap that they throw at us. We don't take that crap and throw it back at them. That's what I mean about courage. Why is H1B even an issue? There should have been free education, free or low-cost education. Personally, I say free, okay? Why not? Millionaires get everything for free. It's time for the working-class people in this country to be able to, to do things, right? H-1B, what is it? It is a visa for technically skilled people of certain technical genres to be able to come into America and work doing them technical things. Why? It shouldn't be that big of a deal. It should not be happening. It had no business happening in the first place. We are the richest country in recorded. Mind you, I say, we'll put it this way. We are the richest country in modern history. The richest, the strongest. Why in the hell weren't we taking care of educating our people? Oh, and by the way, how do you think we won the war to space? Why do you think we beat the Russians? Because that Republican president, the guy that helped basically win World War II in Europe, Eisenhower, said, oh my God. He looked out his window one day in 57, 58, and lo and behold, there was a thing going around and around the planet. Beep, 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 called Sputnik. The Russians had beat us into space. Remember, the Russians started this thing. They got there first. And you know what Eisenhower did? He said, oh my God, we are getting our butts kicked with technology. The Russians are eating our lunch and our dinner. We need to have a massive infusion of taxpayer dollars into technology. And more important, or just as important, the education of technology. That's why 50s they came out with all these different kinds of programs so that people who really had any interest in Star Trek, okay, could go to school and learn coding and whatever else, a technical education will require. And that's how we managed to eventually win the space race. And then what happened? Republicans came, they scrapped it all. Only thing Republicans was cool about for spending money was with DOD, and basically, if it wasn't designed to kill people, the Republicans in Congress were not interested. And that's what happened. That's what happened to our space program. And see, the same thing is going to happen again. This is not, it's really difficult sometimes to talk to conservative people. Republicans, it's really hard. Because, see, once upon a time, most Republicans didn't think the way these clowns think nowadays. They saw the need for various programs. You know how you got the teachers and professors and what have you that taught the technology for getting into space. You know how that happened? Something called the GI Bill. And they said, well, look, we saw what happened at the end of World War I. Race riots and guys, their jobs are gone and blah, 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 right? Well, this time around, World War II, we're going to make it so that if you're going to try and bounce somebody from their job because they've been over fighting for the country, you're going to have to answer to somebody for that. Number one. Number two, you want to stay in school for the next 20 years, Uncle Sam will back your play. So a person could start out being a high school dropout in 1940, and by the time the war is over, well, I'll put it this way, he don't have to worry about getting his bachelor's degree, and he don't have to worry about getting his law degree or a degree in education. He didn't have to worry about none of that stuff, especially if he was white. Yeah, I said it. Unfortunately, just like every damn thing else, the GI Bill was not distributed equally. Okay, I hate to say it, but yeah, that's true. Especially if you lived in the South. But generally speaking, it was a good program. Where do you think most of your teachers, if you were going to school and say you were in high school in the 50s going into the 60s, most of your male teachers and some of your female teachers, you know how they were able to do that, right? The GI Bill. And all these people out here living in suburban homes. Remember the homes that Donald Trump was scared that people who look like me would move into their neighborhoods? How do you think they got them home loans? How do you think they was able to, get them nice little houses and everything, right? The government. See, that's another thing that angers me about many people in this country when they talk about government handouts. You only call it a handout depending upon whose hand is being shaped. See, if it's something for me, dark me, well, then it's a government giveaway, right? But if it's somebody that's Caucasian, well, hey, that's a whole different story, right? Folks, all I'm asking you to do for this new year, educate yourselves and think. That's why, what's his face, Trump is going to be walking into the White House in a very short period of time. Because people didn't think. And I'm not just, I'm not just talking about white folks either, okay? A lot of my Hispanic brothers and sisters did not think. A lot of my black brothers and sisters did not think. So remember that. When you see your Social Security getting smaller and smaller, bear that in mind. All right, that's why. When it gets more difficult for you to get, the care that the medical care that you need, remember that. And remember why. Because you chose to vote against yourself. You were more worried about some kid that had a problem, dealing with the trans people, and you don't have a .00009. I mean, that's probably about the amount of trans people that you have in this country, and you let that stop you from voting in your basic interest. So don't cry. Don't complain. Trump said yesterday, I don't know about these high food prices. They're high. They're real. I don't see them coming down anytime soon. When Kamala Harris was running, she said she was going to form a commission. They were going to investigate food, especially. Why is it so damn high? Now, that's what she was wanting to do, to find out just who was doing what. Listen, when you vote for people that don't give a damn about you, this is the kind of crap that you get. But you were so, fired up with hate. Hate for Hispanics. Hate for black folks. Hate for gay people. Hate for trans people. Hate, hate, hate. Hate for a woman's right to choose. Man, that hate was feeling mighty damn good. But like I said, you see a lot of MAGAs out there very upset, very angry. Am I going to say we told you so? Well, hell, I don't really have to say that, do I? You can read the newspapers, right? You look at TV. But I do want, Americans need to remember this. In 2024, you took your country into the gutter. Now let's see if you're smart enough to get it out of the gutter. That's all. That's what I'm curious about. You know, what's his name? What's that guy's name? Aristotle. He said, what you want in a leader is virtuous and moral leadership, and a leader that will serve the people's good, not just his own. And when you have what we had in 2024, I would call it runaway democracy, because people are voting for all the wrong reasons. And the leaders who benefit from our runaway democracy, these are people, and what they do, they divide the people by exploiting their fear, their greed, and their ignorance. So the next time, if we're able to vote next year, and the 2 years after that, if we're still allowed to vote, I mean, with Trump, you never know. But if we are, you think about what old Aristotle had to say about fear, greed, and ignorance as you watch your ever smaller, ever shrinking Social Security check and your health care. Folks, we got a lot of work to do this new year. Let's get busy. Let's take care of each other. Same time, same channel. See you next week. Peace.